Welcome back everyone to my channel. In this video I am going to be going over another chest opening, and hopefully you all enjoy. I'll try and keep this short and brief and yet filled with knowledge and understanding of the opening. This opening I have found in my own play to be very effective. It is the King's Indian attack and defense. You can play it with both colors. It's for me been very effective in my chess rating gain, and I'm excited to share with you. We will first be starting out with the white pieces, and at the end of the video I will be going over a game that was played between two of the strongest bots in the world, Leela and Stockfish, with this opening, so I'm excited to share that. Stick around to the end of the video because you don't want to miss that. So with the white pieces we're going to be starting out, and you're going to be playing, first you're going to be playing knight f3 to start the game. And the way you're going to be playing the King's Indian attack, which is what you call it with the white pieces, is similar if you've ever played it with the black pieces. So let's just say black plays in a non-combative way. So they play d5, we will then play g3, and let's just say they play, knight to f6, we will play bishop g2, they play, e6 like here, we will castle, they go here, and next we will go d3. The point is, this is an anti-e5, e4 push, okay? We do not want them pushing in the center because we want to go in the center, okay? So that is the idea of d3. Also, you can think about putting a bishop on d2, also to, in the future, start this push in the center of the board. This is a very common idea with the King's Indian with the white pieces. Now let's say that black plays in a way that's more combative. So let's say they play knight to c6, for example. You can play bishop g5 and bishop g2, sorry, and let's just now they play e5. So now they're much more combative. Well, you still play d3. The point is, if you take you can even trade if you'd like here because it's the check, and then you can move your knight. So here you can like trade, they don't want to take with the king, and then you can move your pawn or whatever, move your knight. That is just, whatever. Again, you're not scared of e4 because you have d3, and even if they do not go e4, you can, if they go for example, knight to f6, which, looks pretty scary because they have the two knights. It's a very nice center for them. They can bring both bishops out on, c5 and f5. In this case, you want to be when you're at this position of the King's Indian attack for white, there are many different things you can do. First of all, you can castle, that's fine, but also your king is pretty safe, so you don't have to castle right away. Also, they're, behind in castling, so you are ahead slightly. You want to be thinking about where to put this dark square bishop. So in some cases, maybe you can go here and trade if they attack you. Also, see, you can go here, and if they go here, you can take whatever. You're fine. Yeah, if they go h6, you don't want to back the bishop up because you're just you're kind of just wasting a tempo. Now, instead of trading, you can also go b3, which is another idea. And the point of b3 is you want to go bishop b2, and you want to go knight to d2 and push here. I said at the beginning of the video that you are also preparing e4. If you go, in this case, let's say they go here, here, you go here, no, you go not here. You go bishop to b2. They, castle, whatever. You go here. You do not want to do both of these, okay? That's just, it's going to wreck your development of your pieces. It's going to block your pieces, and it's just not good. You do not want to do both c4 and e4. You just, no. It's not going to go well if you want to do both, okay? So, but this bishop here is very nice for you. This bishop on this long diagonal is very nice. So if you do want to at some point, push, you can castle. You can go knight to d2. They, go here. You can castle if you like. That's fine. I mean, if you go, you have to be kind of wary of this move. If you take though, you're doing okay. You can go, maybe You can go here, because if they go here, you can take. So you're fine here, and you're also attacking the knight, so you're doing okay. But another idea here in this position where it's you're kind of controlling the center from a distance. There's a couple other ideas that you need to be aware of, and I'll share those with you now. Alright, so going back to the beginning, we're going to be playing knight f3 in our normal things, but after bishop g2, they play e5, and we already went over this, but castles, and now knight to c6, d3, bishop to e6, and now we play e4. So e4, in this position, there's a couple of things that they can do. So first of all, if they take your pawn, it's okay, because you can trade, but I don't recommend it because this pawn is undefended. So I would recommend defending the pawn first, which you can do by, moving the knight maybe. Well, if they, it's kind of tricky here, because if they take you kind of want to take, because then you lose a queen. So I recommend maybe, if they take here, you have to be careful. You have to be careful of different things, and that brings us into the next thing. So if they take you really just have to be careful. There's a lot of theory on the moves like this, so I recommend getting like a chess, maybe a different, more in-depth course or a book or something like that, so you really have the right tools to know what to do. Another thing that you need to be aware of is if they play d4 and kind of lock the center. There's a couple of things you can do. First, you can, if they close the center, you're going to be wanting to play on the king side. So moves like f4 are quite normal in this position. You can also go here. You can also go here, and again, if you go here, they trade, that's fine. Next, you can think about this eventual pawn push. So that could be made with something like, knight to e1. And at first, knight e1 looks a little weird, but it makes sense because you are trying to push the pawn to f4. So if they try and stop you by, going here, then maybe you can even play like kind of a ridiculous move. I don't know, here, like, if they kind of like lock down this side, maybe you can play on the queen side by, going maybe c3, and then you kind of try and chip away at the position here, and then maybe you try for in this case, maybe they play here, you try and play for d4. That's an idea. That's just an idea. There's a bunch of different ideas, but I hope this gives you just a little bit of clarity as to different moves and ideas. This is really, I'm not trying to give you like a really in-depth course. I'm just trying to give you some basic ideas. So let's move on now to the black pieces. Let me flip the board here. Okay, let's move on to the black pieces. Okay, so the King's Indian with black is my specialty now. This is what I always play against d4. And that's really the main thing you played against. Maybe you played against c4, but really it's a d4, c4, never e4, because if they play e4 and you play here, you're just kind of playing a Alekhine's defense. This is totally different, but again, you can go check that out. Your opponent goes d4, and you go knight to f6. Now, there's a lot of theory on here, but I'll just give you kind of some basic insight and ideas for the King's Indian with the black pieces. So first, let's say that white doesn't really challenge our center, and we go knight to f6. Let's just say they play c4, and we'll go g6, and the idea here is we'll fianchetto, castle, and then go for the same idea with, in this case, we played d3 with white, we will play d6 with black. So let's just say they played knight to c3, we go bishop to g7. I don't know, let's say they play g3, we castle, they go bishop to g2, we will go d6, and our idea now is to go knight to d7, and in some cases, almost play this like a Leningrad Dutch, where you can put the rook or the queen on e8, and then you push the pawn. So that can look something like this. Let's say they play here, we can go knight to d7, they castle. Sometimes I usually like to put the queen there, and let's say they play bishop here. This is one of the lines. You can play here, and now this is kind of the idea of this kind of King's Indian with the black pieces, is to go for this push, and if they take, you can go here, and now the engine wants h6 to kick the bishop out, and now you're doing fine here. You can play b6, bishop b7, let me just draw the arrows here, put the bishop there, bring the rook, like maybe to d8. You have the queen, the rook, push the bishop out, hop the knight in, get the bishop over here. You have nice vision, and this is like a prime example of, like a really nice position that you can get. But let's just say that we don't go for this kind of position, and maybe white gives us a little bit more issues in the center. So in this case, we go bishop to g7. Let's say they play here. Let's say they play e4 right off the bat. Well, if they do that, then you're going to play d6. And even if they go here, you can take, and we're almost like in the same position we were before, where if you go here, then you're basically like in the same position. If they push, it's a bad move, so they don't want to do that. So that's kind of this kind of idea. Another thing is, if they go e4, you can, I'm trying to think of the idea of different moves here. I think d6 would probably be the best move. So I definitely recommend d6 in this position. If they go, e4, d4, c4, if they do that, I recommend going d6. And even after e4, they kind of set up in a less provocative way, and more of like a kind of like a solid, like they go knight to f3, and then they want to go bishop e2 and castle. That's fine. You could have castle, they go bishop e2, you can go knight to d7, they castle, you can go rook e8 if you want, that's fine. They go here, you can push now, and they take, and now you're doing fine. You're just doing absolutely okay. Next thing is you can go bishop b6, bishop e7, like I said before. So hopefully that gives you just a little bit of some ideas. Again, there are many different ways you can play. So if they go d4, you can go knight to f6, and sometimes you can even go d6 right away. I believe this has a different name. I believe this is the perk defense if you do this d6 thing right away. But I mean, same kind of idea, right? You go here, and I mean, if they go set up in like this way, here, castle, here, your idea here is to go e5. So castle, and you can even go now if you want, because you're fine. Yeah, and the nice thing about this setup with black is your rook, and I mean, if you move your light square bishop fast enough, your rooks and your queen are connected, and that's like very, very nice. It's like very nice for you. So hopefully this gives you some ideas. Next we will move on to a game. As I promised, we'll move on to a game played between Stockfish and Leela, and hopefully this gives you an idea of just some different ideas. So let me get that set up here. All right, here we are. Okay, so this game, we have Leela playing with white and Stockfish just playing with black. So, again, I'm probably not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to go through the opening ideas just to give you some ideas for if you are playing with. And I believe this is the King's Indian with the black pieces, and we have Stockfish playing with black, as you see there. Again, these bots they have an average rating of 3665 roughly. So we can definitely all learn something from these bots. So here we go. d4 and g6 Stockfish starts out with. We have c4 and bishop g7, and c3 and Stockfish goes d6, which is one of the ideas I talked about. e4, knight to f6, we have knight to f3 and castles. So right away, Stockfish gets after it and goes for the normal King's Indian setup. Bishop to e2, and we have e5. So lashing out right out of the gate with the in the center, and we have castles by Leela, and now we have knight to c6 and d5. So kind of closing down the center and also kicking the knight out. Knight goes to e7, and now we have knight back to e1. Clearly the idea here by Leela is to reroute the knight. Also maybe can play bishop to g5 in the future. Now we have c5. There is a option to take en passant, which Leela does not do. If you do not know what en passant is, basically white can take en passant, which means it kind of looks ridiculous, but you know, they can take the pawn diagonally behind it, only for this move if the opponent went 2 spaces and is standing side by side, and you can only do it for this move. You cannot do it if, you know, if you play here, they play here. You cannot go here now because, you know. Anyway, okay, c5, and instead we have knight to d3. So, and then Stockfish plays knight to e8. So clearly trying to push, you know, some kind of initiative there on the king side, maybe with a eventual pawn break. f4, Leela going for its own pawn break with the f4 pawn. We have takes and bishop takes. Yeah. Now h6 and bishop back to e3 and b6. So Stockfish is trying to create just a rock solid center, and just, yeah, a very nice pawn formation, and maybe can play bishop to b7 in the future. We have queen to d2 and king to h7. So if you notice here, Leela was threatening that pawn on h6, so Stockfish plays king h7. Now we have g4, so Leela is just going for the attack now. a6, but Stockfish, not to be outdone by Leela, is trying to go for its own attack. Now we have rook to f2, trying to go for a rook lift, I imagine. Knight back to g8, opening up the queen and, you know, the bishops to connect possibly. Now we have g5, now just opening up the center, or opening up the pawn, but Stockfish ignores it and instead goes b5. Now, I mean, look at Leela just launching all the pawns. Just, this is expert technique here, just launching all the pawns, just going for a merciless attack. Queen to e7. Knight to f4, and now we have b4. So that b pawn has arrived, attacking the knight. The knight goes back to d1, and now we have queen takes e4. h5 though, so Stockfish has to be careful. Knight to e7 does not take the pawn, because that would be very bad. Now we have g takes h6, and Stockfish goes bishop to f6, and now we have h takes g6. Pawn takes, not king takes, because it's illegal. Now bishop to d3, attacking the queen, kicking it out. The queen goes to e5, and now we have rook to e2. So, you know, now we have some ideas going on. We have bishop to g4, attacking the rook. The rook goes back, so the rook was just on f2, now it's on g2, and bishop goes to f4. And, I mean, the cleanup here is very nicely done. And we have a trade of queens, and now Leela has a bishop for a knight, so I mean, it's still totally equal, and eventually, you know, the game kind of petered out, and these pawns are just frozen, so, you know, we traded down to bishop and knight versus rook and, like, rook and knight versus rook and bishop, and we got over here, and the bots agreed to a draw, or they drew, so, yeah. It did kind of end a little bit anticlimactically, but again, just hopefully this gives you just a bit of an idea of the different techniques you can have when you're playing, and yeah, it's just very cool to see for me, especially when I'm learning like a new opening or a strategy or an idea for an opening, to look at these games. You know, these games are super informative, and they can teach you so much. So hope you all enjoyed this little, first the opening section. I'll put timestamps on the video if you do not want to watch the whole thing. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, and check out the other videos on the channel. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Check out the videos. Check out the 2 links in the description for improving your chess with chess.com premium membership. You get with the diamond membership, you get unlimited coaching, unlimited lessons. Of course, you get unlimited game review and puzzles and all the things that come in puzzles as well. Just a lot of good stuff for a pretty good price, especially for the yearly membership. So definitely check that out. There's different tiers. So there's the gold, platinum, diamond, and then there's also a family bundle or something. You get a lot of stuff for a nice discount for your family. So definitely check that out. Also check out the link for the discount, the 10% discount for Submagic. It's a great video editor, and it has allowed a lot of content creators to make some great content with, adding, captioning, and even animated captioning, and does video editing. So check that out, and the link is in the description. And also use my code PawnStorm for 10% off on your membership for Submagic. Definitely check that out. It's been great for the channel, and I don't know. It's just great it's a great tool for video editing. So check those 2 out. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next video.